Let's jump straight into the possibility of deleting a lesson from this dashboard. Oh, and by the way, behind the scenes I took the liberty of including an edit and delete button. Okay, so let's use the delete button to make this happen. Before we do that, let's just head over to lessons controller and make sure that Laravel is prepared to delete stuff. So right here where we have our destroy, it's expecting an ID, but we're using route model bounding, so we're gonna get the lesson. So lesson. Remember, we registered a resource and automatically we can type in this and Laravel is gonna inject to us a lesson. So that's imported. We just need to call lesson delete. Okay, so hopefully we don't run into any trouble. Let's go ahead and make this happen with Axios. So in our lessons.view, we have this delete button. Therefore, we can attach an event listener, which is a click, and we're simply gonna say delete lesson. Okay, so this is a method we need to create. Right down in our methods object, we'll create that method. And what do we want to do? I'm actually going to prompt the user to make sure he actually wants to delete. So I'm simply going to wrap this in a confirm. So if confirm, are you sure you want to delete? And this is kind of using JavaScript's default API, but I think it's going to serve the purposes. So are you sure you want to delete? And if that's true, if the user is sure he wants to delete, then we're going to make an Axios call. So Axios.delete, which is a delete request. Looks like we don't have access to Axios on this component yet, so let's import it. Import Axios from Axios. Therefore, Axios.delete, and we need to pass in the endpoint. Therefore, we'll pass in admin this.series ID slash. Then we need to pass in the lesson ID, right? So why don't you get the ID from the loop? So right here, we can pass it as an argument. Therefore, we have the lesson local variable, and we can get the ID. Okay, so we pass the lesson ID into this method. So once we get that, we can pass this in also as the parameter, and this has to be prefixed with lessons. So admin series ID lessons lesson ID, that's the delete endpoint that we want to reach. And if you're not sure about that, make sure you run php artisan route list and check out the delete routes we have. So admin series by ID lessons lesson, and it's going to go to the destroy method of our lessons controller. Okay, so that's what we have. Then if we have a successful response, console.log response just for now, then the catch is also going to do same. Okay, so let's try this out. Quick refresh, open up our console, and let's try to delete this one. So we have, are you sure you want to delete? Let's confirm. Yeah, and we have a status code 500. Let's see what that is. And looks like Laravel is telling us argument 1 pass to lessons controller was supposed to be an instance of lesson, but it received an instance of podcast series. Okay, I thought that was going to be a problem. Let's head over to lessons controller and try to say we received the series, and we also received the lesson. Then we delete the lesson. Okay, I think this is going to fix it. Let's try to delete again. Okay, another error, and great, it actually deleted. So the response content must be a string. Okay, I knew this was also going to bug because we can't return booleans from our controllers. So what we're going to do is lesson delete and return a status of okay. So response JSON status of okay and set at 200. Just a successful response code. Okay, so we find the series, find the lesson, delete the lesson, and respond with this. So I don't think in earlier versions of Laravel this was actually a problem. We could actually type in this and Laravel was automatically gonna inject the lesson, ignoring the series. But if that's how it wants to work now, then it's okay. Okay, so let's delete this. I think we already did. Let's have a refresh. Try to delete this one. Okay, so it looks like we're successful, and we have the delete response there, our status of okay. So it looks like we're successfully deleting, but what happens to our DOM when we actually have a delete response?